Dear students, today we will discuss about concept of object-oriented programming. When it comes to writing a program, there are various styles and methodologies of writing. The choice of the methodology depends upon the tasks and the programming language. Presently, two very popular methodologies are used to develop a software, namely procedure-oriented programming and object-oriented programming. Procedure-oriented languages allow a large program to be divided into smaller programs that are also called procedures or functions. Object-oriented programming, on the other hand, emphasizes data over a procedure. Python, Java, Perl, all these high-level languages are object-oriented programming languages. We will discuss about more differences between procedure and OOPs in later sections. Basic concepts of object-oriented programming. An object-oriented programming language model which is organized about objects rather than action and data rather than logic. Python is an object-oriented programming language. Now the basic concepts related to OOPs are as follows: objects, classes, encapsulation, data hiding, abstraction, polymorphism and inheritance. Concept of objects. In this world, we see several objects around us. The chair on which you sit is an example of an object. The computer, the pen, even we ourselves are example of objects. Whatever may be the situation, you will always find two unique features of an object: characteristics or the properties and the behavior. For example, a car, its characteristics is represented by its color, length, breadth, number of people can sit, the wheel radius, and its behavior is the speed, steering control, smoothness while driving, etc. An object is an entity with certain characteristics and behavior. Every object should be an identity and name. Classes. The class can be defined as a skeleton and or as collection of objects. It is basically a blueprint to create objects. An object is a basic key concept of OOP, but classes provide an ability to generalize similar type of objects. Both data and functions operating on the data are bundled as a unit in the class. Let us take the example of a mobile phone. A Windows phone, Android phone, iPhone all fall into the category of mobile phones. All of these are instances of a class, say mobile phone, and are called objects. A real instance of a class is called an object, and creating the new object is called instantiation. A class is defined before the creation of objects of its type. The objects are then created as instances of the class as shown in the example. In this example, Nokia, Lumia, Asha and i4 are all instances of the class mobile phone. All these instances have basic features that a mobile phone should have, and some have specific features too. We will discuss about creation of class and objects in the next video. Encapsulation. Encapsulation is the most basic concept of OOP and an important aspect. It is the concept of wrapping data and function in a single unit. In simple terms, we can say that encapsulation is implemented through classes. It restricts the access of methods and variables from outside world. Data members of a class can be accessed through its member function only. It keeps the data safe from misuse. In the above example of mobile phone, the class encapsulates the data and the associated function into a single independent unit. Data hiding. Data hiding can be defined as the mechanism of hiding the data of a class from the outside world or from other classes. This is done to protect the data from any accidental or intentional access. In a class, data may be made private or public. Private data or function of a class cannot be accessed from outside the class, while public data or function can be accessed from anywhere. So data hiding can be achieved by making the members of the class private. Data abstraction. Abstraction refers to the art of hiding the complexities and giving a simple interface. Do you know the inner details of the monitor of your PC or your mobile phone? Does it really matter to you what is happening inside the devices and how they are displaying or working? Important thing for you is that whether these devices are working or not. You are never concerned about their inner circuitry. This is what we call abstraction. Only the essential information is provided to the outside world while the background details are hidden. Classist uses the concept of abstraction. Classist uses the concept of abstraction. It encapsulates the relevant data and functions that are operate on data by hiding the complex implementation details from the user. Abstraction and encapsulation are complementary concepts. Though through encapsulation only we are able to enclose the components of the objects into a single unit and separate the private and public members. And through abstraction, that only the essential behaviors of the objects made visible to the outside world. So we can say that encapsulation is a way to implement data abstraction. Now let us discuss about polymorphism. Polymorphism is an object oriented principle that enables an object to take many forms. Thus we can perform a single action by different ways. Poly means many and morph means forms. Polymorphism can be achieved in two ways: operator overloading and function overloading. Operator overloading. Earlier you have noticed that using the plus operator we can do different type of tasks. If we use 8 plus 9, we will give you will get 17 answer. Means if we use the integer or any type of other data members, we will get the arithmetic operation. But if we add to a string variable, it will show you the string operation. This feature, where an operator can be used in different forms, is known as operator overloading, and it is one of the methods to implement polymorphism. There are another option, function overloading. Though Python is not support function overloading, but the process is, you can see in the example, there are different functions defined here. The test function, one has without any arguments or the parameter. The second one has 2 parameters and the third one has 3 parameters. In other high level languages like Java or PHP or Perl, you can use the function, you can the same function can be used in different ways. If you want to call the second function, you have to call the function with 2 operators. But in Python, it's not support the function overloading. It will show you the last and the least operation that you have made. The function, the last function is the test with 3 parameter. If you call test with 2 parameters, it will show you an error. But if you call the test with 3 parameters, it will run without any error. So as the Java and other high level languages or the object oriented language, they are support function overloading as a polymorphism mechanism, but in Python you can use only the operator overloading as a polymorphism. Now inheritance. In real world you must have seen inheritance. As the name inheritance suggests, an object is able to inherit characteristics and behavior from other subject. Inheritance is the most important aspect of object-oriented programming, which simulates the real-world concept of inheritance. It specifies that the child object acquires all the properties and behaviors of the parent object. The child object is known as the subclass, and the main from where you are acquiring the members and function is called the parent class or the superclass. It provides us the flexibility of reusability of the code. Now advantage of OOPS. OOPS has following advantages. Number one is simplicity. The objects in case OOPS are close to the real world objects, so the complexity of the program is reduced, making the program structure very clear and simple. Modifiability. It is easy to make minor changes in the data representation or the procedures in an OOPS program. Changes inside a class does not affect or do not affect any other part of a program, since the only public interface that the external world has to a class is through the use of the methods. There is few more advantages in the OOPS, something like extensibility and maintainability. It is quite easy to add new features and extend the program in case of object-oriented programming. It can be simply done by introducing a few new objects and modifying some existing ones. Reusability. Objects can be reused in different programs. The class definition can be reused in various applications. Inheritance makes it possible to define subclasses of data objects that share some of all the main class characteristics. Enforces a more thorough data analysis, reduces development time, and ensures more accurate coding. Security. The characteristics of data hiding provides greater system security and avoids unintended data corruption. Now there is some difference, as I discussed in earlier, that the difference between object oriented versus procedure oriented programming language. You can see here a list of the differences. Object oriented programming makes the development and maintenance easier, whereas procedure programming, it is not easy to maintain the codes when the project becomes lengthy. Object oriented programming simulates the real world entity, so real world problems can be easily solved through OOPS, whereas procedure does not simulate the real world. It works on step by step instruction divided into small parts called functions. Object oriented provides you the data hiding facility, so it is more secure than procedural languages. You cannot access private data from anywhere, whereas procedural language, there are no such facility, and it is very less secure. Example of object oriented programming languages is C++, Java, .NET, Python, C#, etc. And the example of procedural languages, C, Fortran, Pascal, VB. Okay, it's we are now closing the concept of object oriented programming. Later we will discuss about the classes and objects preparing through Python. Okay, thank you very much.